What's going on, everybody? Johnny Bannon here at Trepa Technologies, and in today's video we're going to be going over our dynamic ARP inspection lab. So now we're going to get into the actual configuration portion and the verification portion. Now if you like these videos, make sure you like and subscribe. This is a full and free CCNA course, so it's a great resource for anybody wanting to jump in to networking. So with that being said, let's go ahead and take a look at our network topology. So if you're following these videos in orders, this may look a little familiar. And that's because it is. It's the exact same topology we use for our DHCP snooping. And there is a reason for that. Because remember, dynamic ARP inspection is built off of what? Our snooping binding table. So what we're not going to see during this lab is the configuration of DHCP snooping, the VLANs, the trunks, the sub-interfaces, and the DHCP pool creation. We're not going to go with that configuration. We're just going to do the dynamic ARP inspection configuration. Now, during this lab, you're going to see how easy and kind of basic dynamic ARP inspection is once you've already done DHCP snooping. It's just one command to enable it on our VLANs, and then another command to specify the trusted ports. Now you may notice something a little different here compared to our DHCP snooping lab, and that is all these ports are trusted, whereas in the DHCP snooping lab, this port was untrusted. And that's because dynamic ARP inspection does do things a little bit different, where it inspects all ARP traffic, and the trusted ports allows anything ARP. It doesn't actually look into the binding table and make sure that the layer 3 to layer 2 mappings are correct. It only does that on the untrusted ports. Now that being said, let's go ahead and configure dynamic ARP inspection on switch 1 and switch 3. So we're going to console in here. And then once we console in, what we're going to do is just do some Wireshark captures. I'm going to probably reset these PCs to make sure there's no IP addresses on them, and then set one to static and see how we can't ping. And then I'm going to set this PC to DHCP and then do a ping and see the ARP happen in real time, and then look at the syslog messages and look at the actual IP dynamic ARP inspection bindings, okay? So that being said, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, let's go ahead and bring up Secure CRT. And now we are consoled into all our devices. So again, the first thing we're going to do is just the basic IP ARP inspection commands. I guess before we do that, let's go ahead and verify our snooping binding table. So we're going to type in show IP DHCP snooping binding. And we don't see anything because our PCs don't have any IP addresses set yet. So we type in show IP here on both our PCs. We got nothing. So the binding table, actually this one was statically set. So let me go ahead and, I think this is just delete IP, or actually, I didn't save this, so let's go ahead and stop this computer, and then we'll start it again, so that's clear, okay? I was doing some testing prior to this video. Okay, we'll bring this back up, our secure CRT. And sometimes you'll notice, guys, if you're watching my videos, even since I'm running it on a cloud, you can see up here my Google Cloud instance. Sometimes these PCs just really act up. You can see it's not starting here, and that's okay. For our lab, we can continue without this starting up. Don't know why it's being like that. That's okay. Let's go ahead and bring our secure CRT back into view here, because we are just concerned about actually configuring dynamic ARP inspection. So at switch 3 here, we're going to just make sure again that DHCP snooping is enabled, and we'll just look at a binding table. Okay, so we don't have anything there. Now, to first enable dynamic ARP inspection, the command is IP ARP inspection, and then it's going to be VLAN, and then our VLAN numbers. And that's it. That's the only command we need. And now every single interface is going to be untrusted by default. So we type in show IP ARP inspection, and then we can do interfaces here. We can see they're all untrusted, right? We can also do ARP inspection. Let's do statistics. And this is going to give us a lot more information here of what's been forwarded, what's been dropped, what's ACL dropped, DHCP dropped. We have our ACLs, just a lot of other information. This command right here, show IP ARP inspection interfaces, is kind of like the go-to command We also have show IP ARP, just inspection, just period. And again, this gives you a lot of information, not really friendly when we're doing quick troubleshooting, but we may need that deeper show command, right? We may need to see all this. Now that we have this configured, let's go in, or let's check out our lab diagram and see which ports are going to be trusted. So gig 2 and on switch 3 is going to be the only trusted port we have. We could do gig 00 here, but if you're watching these in order, you know that we already configured spanning tree so that this is going to be sending from switch 3 to switch 1 to DHCP server. So one of these is going to be discarding right now, so we're not going to really worry about that, okay? We just want to get into this concept here, not into the actual architecture and best practices. We're just going over dynamic ARP inspection between switch 3 to 1 and this DHCP server here. So gig 02 is going to be our trusted port. So to make an interface trusted, we're going to type in interface gig 02, and then the command is IP ARP inspection trust, and that's going to be in the sub configuration mode there into the actual interface. Now we come over here to switch 1. We're going to do the same thing, and all of our ports are trusted because switch 1's only connected to networking infrastructure right now. So what we're going to do is type in interface range gig 00 through 2 IP ARP inspection trust. And then we also just got to enable ARP inspection. So we're going to type in IP ARP inspection VLAN 10 and 20. All right. We could honestly start our lab right here. That's it. You just configured IP ARP inspection. But obviously we're going to go a little deeper, okay? So what we're going to do right now is on this PC here, we're going to do a request via DHCP. Then we're going to do a ping. We're going to see the ARP request happen. And then we're going to go back into our switches and look at the binding table, look at the IP ARP inspection table as well. So before we start, let's just go ahead and do some captures here. So we're going to do captures on gig 02. And we're going to do a capture on gig 10. So I have my Wireshark captures going on my other monitor that you can't see. And then we're going to go back into this PC and we're going to type in IP DHCP. And now this is going to request a DHCP address. Or it's not, and DHCP snooping probably is messing something up. Let's actually go see if we have any syslog messages or why DHCP isn't working. Okay, so I'm going to pause this video, fix our DHCP. When I come back, I'll share with you what went wrong. I'm going to guess that it's something to do with snooping, but we'll just pause the video. Okay, welcome back. So yeah, it was a DHCP issue. The DHCP server on the router actually wasn't configured. So my bad. But now, let's continue with dynamic ARP inspection. So as we can see here, it looks like we got an invalid ARP request on gig 00. So if we come in on gig 00, what we're saying here is that in this diagram probably, is that ARP, that DHCP request was broadcasted, and we probably just got some information back here with an ARP request or an ARP reply, and this untrusted port by default was like, nah, we're not accepting that, okay? Now that is kind of weird because if we look at our spanning tree, let's make sure that switch 1 is our root. So we're just going to do this with spanning tree, VLAN 10, root, primary, okay? And then we shouldn't be getting any traffic from gig 00 when we do a broadcast. We got to do that on VLAN 20 as well. All right, awesome. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at our Wireshark captures. So I'm going to bring those into view. So we're just going to look at the DHCP. Awesome. So now if you look at this DHCP, these discover, offer, request, and acknowledge was accepted. And now if we look at switch 3 and switch 1, we can type in do show IP DHCP snooping binding. We're going to see that this computer's MAC address is tied to this IP address. So now, if PC8 decided to be rogue, dynamic ARP inspection would block that because it's going to reference this binding table and say, no, this MAC address belongs to this IP address, okay? Now, if we come back in here, minimize this, let's see if PC7 will turn back on. There we go. We got great success. If we open up Secure CRT again, go back into PC7 here, we type in show IP. Let's set an IP statically, and let's see what happens. So we're going to say this IP address is 10.10.10.5 with the default gateway of 10.10.10.1. Okay, and you can see here we're already getting invalids. Now, why is that? Because there is no DHCP snooping binding table. So it's not going to allow that 10.10.10.5 to send out information. So let's go ahead and try something. Let's do a packet capture on 1.1 here. Let's come back to this PC and do a ping. Let's try to ping 10.10.10.1. We're not going to get anything. And if we look at this packet capture, we can see that it's trying to get there. It's saying, hey, who has this? Who is this target IP? Now, why isn't this working? Because what's happening is that untrusted port is getting that ARP request inbound. And it's looking at the sender information here. And it's saying, okay, if I'm going to accept this ARP request, this ARP message, I need to check my DHCP snooping binding table and ensure that this MAC address is binded to this sender IP address in this ARP request, in this ARP message. Could be a reply or a request, really the ARP message. Now, if we go back to switch 3, we can say, hey, we're denying that's an invalid ARP request on gig 1.1. So we type in do show IP ARP inspection interfaces. Actually, let's see statistics. We can see actually here dropped. On VLAN 10, we got dropped messages. And that's because if we look at our DHCP binding table now, our snooping binding table, forgot the DHCP there, show IP DHCP snooping binding, we only have this in our binding table. So how can we fix this? Well, we can make this DHCP and then set it statically. So we can kind of trick the system, right? We can make it do DHCP, get that binding table, and then make it static, and that could work. But what we want to do is just go ahead and make an ARP ACL. So how do we do that? And I'm going to show you, this is a little bit beyond the scope of the CCNA, but that's okay. This is a little bonus for you guys. So we're going to type in ARP access list. And now what we're doing is we're putting static ACL, okay? We're putting a static ACL, ARP ACL here that's going to statically bind and map that layer 3 address of 10.10.10.5 to the MAC address. So definitely one thing we're going to have to know is the MAC address of the PC, okay? So you got to get that information, like on a Windows PC, like command prompt, you could do ipconfig all, or there's other commands that can show the physical address or MAC address. So first thing, we're going to make this access list, and I'm going to name it VLAN 10, and then I'm going to type in permit IP host, and then the IP address 10.10.10.5, and then I'm going to type in MAC host and get its MAC address. So let's actually see how it wants us to format it. So it's going to be 4 characters dot 4 characters dot 4 characters. So I'm just going to come in here and I'm going to right click, but I'm going to have to change this up because if I try to hit enter, oh, it looks like it actually did take it. Sweet. So let me just make sure. So we do show run section ARP. Okay, I reformatted it for us. Okay, on some iOS's, you have to do the correct format. That's great. It just automatically did that. All right. And then, like regular access lists, there's implicit deny. So again, if we have other static, we'd have to do other permit IP host. And then what we're going to type in here is IP ARP inspection filter, the ACL name, and then the VLAN number we want to apply this to. And now, let's go ahead and see if this works. Look at that. Now we can actually do the pings. And that's because if we type in do show IP ARP inspection statistics, we're forwarding that now. Now we have that static ACL that's allowing us to do a static IP address without checking the DHCP binding table. So we type in show IP ARP. Actually, let me Control-C out of there. Show IP ARP inspection. Let's go with, we'll just hit enter here. We can see that there's an actual ACL match on VLAN 10 here that's active, okay? So pretty cool. We can see that in real time. One other thing I want to go over with you guys is some other options. So we have the IP ARP inspection validate, and we can actually validate on more than just the source MAC and the IP address in an ARP packet, okay? We can actually go off the destination MAC address. We can go off, of course, the source MAC address and the IP address. If you want to learn more about this, go on Cisco's documentation about the other options. I just want to show you that there are other options. We may do a bonus lab going over these advanced configurations, I guess you could say. But for now, we just want to go over basic dynamic ARP inspection and show you how it can protect your layer 2 from ARP poisoning attacks. All right, guys. So that's going to be it for this dynamic ARP inspection lab. I want to thank everyone for viewing. And if you're an active duty soldier, National Guard, or Reserve soldier, you have $4,000 a year that you can use for credentialing assistance. We're an Army Ignited vendor on the Army Cool program, and you can go to any course with us like CompTIA or Cisco courses for free using that $4,000 a year you get for credentialing assistance. Or if your unit or organization needs in-person boot camps, we come in person. We do 5 10-day boot camps. We bring all of our workstations, our labs, our NAS, all the software we give you. It's a great bundle, and we always have excellent pass rates for any certification exam that we come and teach. I want to thank you for viewing, and do not forget to like and subscribe.